30 minutes.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon. Are you guys ready? Okay, my name is Marcel Botha. I am, what am I? Kid from South Africa that went to architecture school, studied photography, did some work as an architect in Europe, and then came to MIT in the US to study engineering. And since I left MIT, I've started a couple of companies, about 7 of them, and I make products. I've designed cars for GM, Mercedes, interfaces for Mercedes, a lot of medical devices, and the latest product is Spoonie, which is going around the class. So I'm going to just show you a quick overview of what I've done, to give you a sense of what you can go build yourself. And these are, I think, the most exciting part is yet to come. So we'll take questions at the end, and I'd love to answer any you may have. So when I was at MIT, we looked at digitally manufactured houses. So every time there's an emergency event around the world, the aftermath is that you either get trailers like they had after Katrina, or tent cities, where people stay way longer than they need to, because the government or the local authorities can't typically get act together fast enough to rebuild communities. So we looked at doing plywood housing that would assemble like a 3D puzzle, and you would cut it on a CNC milling machine based on your design. So if you wanted a house that was specific to your design, and your neighbor wanted something specific to their design, we wrote a series of 7 software steps that would take any shape and transfer it into this giant 3D puzzle that you build. It takes about 4 days to build a house yourself. So this is you and your brother, your family member. It doesn't require 30 people to show up to the house. You can do it yourself. Every piece of plywood you can pick up yourself. This was Sniff Tag. So before the iPhone, before apps, we decided that we wanted to make a social networking tag for dogs. And this was Facebook, Foursquare, and 90 Plus for your dog in 2006. Which is kind of crazy because this little tag cost as much as an iPhone to make. And it had all the functionality in terms of computing power of the first iPhone. So $123 was the manufacturing price of that tag, which meant that we had to sell it for hundreds of dollars to really make our money back. We launched it the week that Lehman Brothers failed, which wasn't the best time to sell a $300 dog tag in New York. So we decided to instead take the technology and make a hand-washing compliance company. This company basically gives the user a tag. Users are orderlies, doctors, nurses, not patients. Patients get this above their bed. And it knows when the doctor, the nurse, the orderly interacts with the patient. It knows when they interact with each other. It knows where in the hospital they are. So it acts as a security tag if you wanted it to be. But what it does, it gamifies hand-washing compliance. And so it encourages you to wash your hands. It will start glowing red if you haven't washed your hands. It tracks your interaction with the hand washing, so any basin in the hospital, knowing whether you washed your hands and how you washed it, and did you do it thoroughly. Also knows when you use the alcohol dispenser, the big one or the small ones that people keep on them. A lot of doctors have one in their side pocket when they squeeze it out, so we want to know are they using that instead of the ball dispenser. And everyone gets points, and you get reprimanded if you score lowest. The reason for this is hospital-borne infection is a global issue. And in the US alone, it's a $5.5 billion addressable market, which is basically made up from treatment costs, litigation, legal costs, and insurance costs. So yeah, that's happening out of Hong Kong today. And currently negotiating with 3 governments to install this nationwide hospitals in the UK, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Hong Kong, US. The only state we have it in is Texas, so we negotiate. This is a diagnostic device that was designed from the ground up to screen for cervical cancer, and it's the size of a Sony video camera, handheld camera. Well, I was approached by a Swedish couple that had a patent on light simulation or light emulation to get natural flesh tone. We took that patent, we disproved the patent, but said, what can we do with this light idea if we can actually use off-the-shelf technology? We built the innovation team, which was a global team. The optics were designed by the guy that actually formerly designed spy satellites. And the LED system was designed by a guy that did military optics in his day job. Move on a few months, and then I invented this. It's a cap that goes on insulin pens that tells type 1 diabetic patients when last they took their insulin. So type 1, if any one of you have type 1 diabetes and are using injectable drugs, you're going to take a shot 4 to 6 times a day. And you're busy, you get distracted, somebody texts you, you just don't know whether you took it in the last few minutes. So this tells how much time has passed since your last injection. We've sold about 200,000 of these all over the world, and it's currently going through the FDA. This is Spoonie. Spoonie was not supposed to be a company. It was a side project on a Saturday morning. My friend up in Boston said that his baby does not eat well with normal spoons, but he blamed it on the spoons, not the baby. The spoons were too big. So we designed a smaller spoon that is shorter, shallower, and has that ridge on the back. Now that ridge came through the research that we did on the 3D printed spoons that we were testing on a bunch of babies. And what we found was the ridge was triggering a latching response, which is similar to a response babies have when they drink from a nipple or a bottle. And what it causes is for them to suck and swallow the fluid in one motion, so much less mess. So we've sold about 24,000 of those. They're manufactured in Germany. We're moving manufacturing to the US now. And we have about 7 more products for the Spoonie product company coming out over the next year. There's Spoonie. I'm going to swap over presentations. Show you the other one. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of what we did with Spoonie. Spoonie is interesting because Spoonie is interesting because we were trying to solve this problem. This is funny. For the first time you Instagram it, and then the second time, but if this happens for a year straight, it's not so funny anymore. And you all were there. Your mom had to deal with it, your dad had to deal with it. So why is this? It's fun. I mean, kids need to explore. Kids need to interact with the tangible world. But if they can interact with, if they're in the parents for the first time interact with poorly designed products, then that experience is just going to be so much worse. So what we are setting out to design the best comparison. Who knows OXO products? OXO good groups, so ergonomic kitchenware. We want to be sort of OXO for babies. So in the 0 to 3 space, we want to bring out sort of the best feeding and medical and sort of development products. We have Spoonie there. Spoonie is sold at MoMA, about 90 boutiques in the US and 9 different countries. So it's expanding, it's growing steadily, 10% a month. And the team for Spoonie is located in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. The next product is a pacifier that delivers medicine accurately so that you get confirmed dosage when you give tiny babies medicine. And the third product is a bowl that goes with the Spoonie product. It's shaped to fit the spoon so that you can actually feed it faster. So Spoonie was simple. It was tested for over a year with a group of 30 babies. We filed patents on the actual geometry. And so does have any one of you filed patents? Do you know about the patent process? You get into it. But we have a utility patent for this. First filed in the US, then in the UK with our international patent. We filed 7 design patents and 2 trademarks. So Spoonie is sold in Japan, Europe, South Africa, US. And as far as we go, we have to also protect the design. Because the moment that we seem like we might be commercially successful, we're going to start seeing copycats. So we're trying to stay ahead of that curve. We make it in the Halo version, which is the expensive plastic version, which you have there. We also have a solid spoon coming out this year. We have wood spoonies, which are handmade in Vermont currently, but we moved that to Bolivia, to the UNESCO site. And we have what we refer to as the expensive spoonie, starting with silver spoonie that we can engrave, all the way through to a 3D printed platinum or gold one. I think we have the most expensive baby spoon in the world. It's $22,000 for a solid platinum one. If anybody wants one. So we have competitors, but all these competitors make cheap products in China and try and sell them as cheap as possible in the US. We don't want to be that guy. So we sell to, we have a demographic that we sell to households in the US that appreciate design, that are over certain income levels, and that's just for the Halo spoon. So now we're trying to balance that by bringing out a cheaper spoon that can serve the entire market, as well as some more high-end design products. In the US, babies, infants specifically, are a $50 billion market a year. We have 4 million babies born in the US roughly every year. So what we are doing is, instead of having to have the re-education of 4 million babies and parents every year, we want to expand our product line so that we can have a conversation with mothers from when they're pregnant all the way to toddlers who are 3, 3.5. So that expands our market size, or our addressable market in terms of people, to about 16 million instead of 4. So this is where we are. We raised, when we wanted to test the idea, we put it on Indiegogo, we crowdfunded it. We then went to manufacture it. I used a manufacturer in Germany because it takes long to find a manufacturing partner that can make very high quality products where you have a trust relationship, and it can take up to 6 months to find the right one. But I already had one making the diabetes product that I showed earlier. So I used the same guys. So now they're making 2 different products for me at the moment. We have direct-to-consumer sales. We also partner with MoMA, Diapers.com, and now are about to start a couple of Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns. And the next step is for us to go to the big box retailers. So we're negotiating with Target, Babies R Us, and companies like those globally to see how we can expand the brand. And we've had some press, some funny, I think the New York Times one was the funniest because Joe Mercier, the business writer, could not really understand why we would bother making a baby spoon. But then he wrote about 3D printing and the whole process that we use every day to develop products faster. So we use state-of-the-art computer design, computer manufacturing to test our ideas, and not just spoons. So we have currently 3 high school students that are working with us. We are testing new designs of drones. So any drone with cameras, Power, DJI, and better. We're going to have a hackathon around drones in the last semester of this year. We're building an electric bicycle, and we are doing some robot tests for around mechanical wheels. So that's why I was interested in your track on your tank, because a similar on SparkFun there are what they call mechanism wheels. So have a look at those. They are actually it's a robot chassis that allows you to actually to turn on the spot. Very cool stuff. Yes.
Are you talking about mechanism wheels?
So the mechanism wheels, yeah.
Yeah. We use that in robotics actually.
It's fantastic.
It makes it, yeah, it's pretty good.
So they're interesting, but they can't go high speed. So what we looked at it in 2004 for General Motors to design it, because we designed electric car concepts for General Motors while I was at MIT. And what we did design as a result of the mechanism wheels that not be able to go high speed was an in-wheel suspension system that would fit inside that wheel. So we're currently building prototypes for that.
Wait, what exactly did these wheels do?
Let me show you. It's I can't explain this, but you should all know this. Can you see? Not connected? I don't be connected. With an iPad. Hold on.
How much is your average spoonie?
How much does that one cost?
Yeah.
So, it costs $16 for a pack of 2. which for New Yorkers are, you know, we don't care. You know, when you live in New York, you make products in New York, it's okay. You think that everyone's going to buy your product. But the reality is that New York is one of the highest end retail markets in the country. So if somebody pays $16 a year for a spoon and they're okay with it, but they're paying for the convenience of having a slightly less messy baby, that means that somebody in Alabama doesn't want to pay more than $8. So when you design products that you want to scale, you need to understand that New York is it's a great place to live, but it is isolated sort of economically and culturally from big parts of America, so and the rest of the world. So what we try and do is we try and serve all the different markets globally to address them. Let me see if I can get a video for you. Any other questions while I...
When did you first put your campaign on Indiegogo?
We put it on November 2012.
Oh, wow.
And we put it on, and it was there for, I think, 6 weeks. 6 or 8 weeks. We made the mistake of not realizing that the rest of the world takes holiday and stopped shopping completely for 3 weeks. Over Christmas and Hanukkah and just over New Year's. People actually take holiday. When you crazy engineer in the lab, you feel that people should keep on buying online. But they respond the same as they respond in physical retail. They go on holiday and the shop's empty. So for 3 weeks we had almost no sales. And then in January, about the second week of January, we picked it up and we raised just shy of $40,000, which is what we wanted for the first week. Yes?
So when you say that you want to like appeal to different markets, does that mean that you plan on selling it in New York for $16, but you would change the price in Alabama?
No, you can't do that.
Can't
So
do that.
you would have the same product for the same price in every market around the world. What we see is that with currency fluctuation, if I sell the product for 14 pounds in London, which makes it more expensive than the US one, and I sell it for 16 euros in Europe. But that is, in Europe and London, that includes VAT, which is 19 to 20% respectively, depending on which country you're in. So what I try and do is never have more than a 15% spread across joining countries or across regions, because then you start, 15% is the threshold where you start seeing people ship product from point A to point B to save money. So you want to keep it in, it's not quite an impulse buy, but you want to keep it so the price so that they can buy it because of convenience and not because they're getting a deal from the days.
Is your price so high because you think like you're the only one out there that has this and like yours is the best and that's why it's so high? But what's going to happen when people like start to sort of get to where you are?
Well, so then there are a couple of ways that you can actually build a product. So it doesn't matter whether this is spoon or another product. It's when you start, often you've confirmed that the idea is unique and that you're going to commercialize that unique idea. Then you can put it on Kickstarter or Indiegogo and get funding, or you can get venture backing, or you can fund it yourself and through sales. And if you're building it by hand, rather fund it yourself so that you keep the ownership of your entire company product. Once it starts scaling, you need to consider, or should have considered early in the process whether you want to file for patents or not. Some people don't, they just skip that step. Then, once you hit, we're at the point where this is going to start scaling seriously, where people are taking numbers and people are recognizing the brand. So now it makes sense for third parties to start copying it. But our spoon is so expensive because it's expensive to manufacture in Germany. Because the quality, the plastics quality there was superior to what we could find in China at such short notice. We can't find comparable quality in the US, so we are looking upstate New York to set up a manufacturing line there. The process that we use is not extremely efficient in order to get that specific look. It's an internal structure, which is the first shot in a polypropylene, and then the outer shell that goes around it. Every other spoon that's manufactured that way puts the outer shell on in one step. Ours takes 2 steps because it's more accurate, but that costs extra money. Machine time, labor, not too much materials, or extra materials because it's the same comparable spoons. So we have an edge on geometry and manufacturing process. So even if you try and copy it, it's going to cost you the same or more to make the spoon. One thing that is that we're testing now is the material science around the outer material. We have a medical grade thermoplastic elastomer, so it's not silicone. The difference between that and silicone is that silicone self-heals. So you cut silicone and basically it doesn't show that it's damaged. So it can catch, basically preserve contaminants, and it doesn't really age the same way. It will discolor over time, but it doesn't deteriorate. Ours is like a toothbrush. After 3 months, 6 months, if the thing starts flaking, throw it away. And we're testing different material formulations in the lab to figure out how we get the material price down, because it's 7 times more expensive than silicone, and how we formulate the material so that it's more durable.
What happens if like the baby bites into the spoon?
Eventually the spoon will fail. I mean, if you bite into the spoon for 3 months straight, it will actually damage the spoon to the point where you have to throw it away. Because tiny babies, when they just started with the teething process, which overlaps with the change to solid foods, they're very shocking. So typically what we see is we see scrape marks along the length of as you remove the spoon, because they latch onto it and they don't want to go. And you see these scrape marks on the bottom or top. So yeah, it has a shelf life.
Talk about getting patents in different countries to protect yourself from copycatters. How do you, is there a way to protect yourself from copycatters in China where the patent system is very poor?
Well, there's a couple of methods to do that, right? So we filed design patents and utility patents. The utility patent talks about the geometry, the relationship between all different aspects and unique aspects of the spoon. So that's an ongoing process. We've been busy with that for 2 years, and it'll probably take another year or 2 before we have a firm answer on what is allowed in our claims. On the design patents, we filed 7 design patents so far in the major territories, so where we think we'll sell a lot of products. So that's China, Japan, Europe. Europe includes all the European Union states, South Africa, Brazil, and the US. And all those were awarded within 1 year of filing. We have...
Danny Friedman, could you please go to the science office on the 5th floor?
So no, it's the process, the utility patent process. What you typically do is you have an idea, you flesh it out, keep it close to your chest, and when you decide if it's a US specific product, it's a US only product, then you file a full patent with the US only and you're done. If you want to make it a global product, then China comes into play. How do I deal with China? So what we typically do is we file a PCT application with a PCT application is a patent cooperation treaty, and that covers you in 136 countries. So we file that, and then once they award that, we can start with the national phase applications. That in itself is not a patent protection, but it allows you to file for national phase applications based on the early provisional patent that you file. So it gives you that, and you have 30 months to do that, from the date of the provisional patent to when you file the And in China, we always file in China specifically. So we have a Chinese design patent that covers the current design, and we have utility patents that will be extended to China once they are awarded. We'll go there.
So with all these ideas, how do you come to start these ideas? What's influencing you before you actually decide I want to start to make this product?
I mean, it's hard to frame it because I've done a lot of very different stuff. I knew that when I was 5 years old when I built my first dart gun, And then it was tiny pen shot little darts that went nowhere. But I wanted to be a James Bond inventor. And then when I was 10 or 11, I bought a crossbow. My dad changed my design and suggested changes that I didn't like, so we bought his crossbow and we went to work on my crossbow. Took the crossbow to school and almost got expelled from school. And the principal, because we actually got to shoot birds with it, and it worked. And which means that we also hurt other kids. So the principal was luckily my neighbor, and he said, okay, this is ingenious, but you can't bring it to school again. So all my life I've been building stuff, but then in South Africa that doesn't have nearly sort of the capacity of understanding or creating understanding for young kids like you, what all the different types of careers you can have in making stuff. I decided, okay, I'm going to be a doctor or I'm going to become an architect. So I went to become an architect, and while I was listening to that, I'm like, this is so boring. So I've got to build more stuff and smaller stuff. I didn't want to do that. The biggest thing I ever want to build again is a house, and then it'll be my house, and I'll pay an architect to do that. I don't want to do that myself. So I went back to making products. And MIT was sort of the way that I got to experience products at different scale. And after 8 years, I'm much more aggressive about how I grade the types of products that I spend my time on. So I want to make relevant, scalable products. The complexity doesn't matter because we can address that. But in the consulting that we do, we only work on projects that have influence on the way to make our lives better. When we develop products ourselves and start companies, Spoonie is probably the most frivolous company that I would work on. We're already trying to steer that to be even more functionally relevant with the medical delivery systems. But I want to make medical devices. So I'm looking at robotics and electric car technologies, and all the stuff adjacent to what's interesting now, but most of our effort is going into understanding medical devices and new ways to make medical devices.
In what way would you say MIT helped shape the path you took now in making all of these different things?
For me, I went as a graduate student, and I did a dual graduate degree between the Media Lab and the Computation Group. So for me, it had a big influence in the rapidly changing from A to B. I mean, you don't lose that. I had the 10 years of the design knowledge from being an architect, but it helped me very quickly navigate towards a new field. You do as a, when you're in high school and you're in class year, you've got to move from year to undergrad, you have to find a place that fits your personality. And MIT doesn't fit everyone's personality. But find a place that will engage you for those first 4 years and make you expand your thinking, your education for those first 4 years, and help you also figure out what is it that you want to do long term. Because a lot of other education systems want you to decide at age 15 or 16 what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And the reality is most of us will have 4 to 6 careers, full careers in your lifetime. So you need to try to choose a starting point, but remember that you're never choosing an end point at where you are now. You just need to put yourself in a spot where you can explore and be surrounded by other kids and like-minded individuals that want to explore with you. It's a lot of fun once you find that place. So MIT, yes, it was amazing, but I think just the U.S., most of the U.S. technical schools would give you similar challenges. Another question? Yeah.
Explain the Kickstarter process. How you go about placing a Kickstarter, what it is.
So who has funded on the Kickstarter?
I've come very close.
Okay. So last week this guy posted a picture of a potato salad on Kickstarter, and he said, I'm going to make potato salad. And he asked for a $10 donation. This morning he had $59,000 in donations because it's been all over the news for the last 5 days that this guy is making potato salad. Now what I'm trying to figure out is the Kickstarter process, because when we wanted to do Spoonie on Kickstarter, they said no because it's a baby product. This was in 2012. Now they are allowing products like Spoonie. But you still have to, when we were there, you had to go through a curation process where they have to say yes or no whether you can have your product on their platform. I don't know how the potato salad got on the part of the curation process, but it's there and it has a lot of money in the back. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are backing it just for fun, to see whether they're going to get their potato salad. But it's, I mean, it's all over the news. And the problem is that it's all over the news because it's the least relevant product in Kickstarter, right? But I think there are very few hurdles. What you need to do as an innovator, an inventor, and somebody who wants to make products is test. We typically say test your idea with 100 people, 100 potential buyers, consumers. Start with friends and family. And if you think you have an idea, build a story, whether it's pictures or a video. Put that on Kickstarter. Explain your process. Explain how you are going to. I mean, we have Kickstarter is the difference between I see a pair of glasses, I take them off the shelf and I pay for them, whatever they are, versus I see a picture of the glasses that you designed, and I like your story, I like the glasses, and I'm going to pay you ahead of time for these. And then in 4 months I expect you to deliver my glasses. So the problem, the disconnect with some of the projects in Kickstarter is that people get very excited to fund the potato salad, but they don't know if they'll ever see the potato salad. So I think, so that is, if you're a serious entrepreneur who wants to build many products over a lifetime, reputation is key, integrity is key. So you have to figure out how do you go from point A to delivery and explain that process so that you seem like an incredible seller on Kickstarter.
Don't you need to have a product in order to put it on Kickstarter? Like, don't you have to have the manufactured product?
Yes.
You can't just say, like, I have this idea for a pair of sunglasses that would look like this and they would do this.
Right.
Like, you can't.
Yeah, no, Kickstarter's regulations were very strict up until the potato salad incident. I'd say I don't know. I mean, normally you have to have prototypes and physical prototypes,
Right.
and manufacturers selected if you're going to have a physical product. And they instituted these rules to protect themselves against product fraud. People who basically took the money and then bought a car or had a pizza party for 2,000 people. Who knows? If you have an idea and you want to test it, and you want a community to help you test it, then Quirky is another platform. Quirky, you upload the idea, and the better you communicate that first step, the better your response is going to be from the community. If Quirky likes it, then they will basically incorporate that into their future product line.
So when you put something on Kickstarter, the people that are giving you money expect to get the product.
Yes.
So but on Indiegogo, they just give you money to.
No. Both of them expect you to give us a product.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But the difference is Indiegogo, Kickstarter, if I say, I'm going to stop using the potato salad, for example. But I say I'm designing an iPad. The iPad costs $500. So I need to sell 5,000 of these to make, to break even. What is that? 5,000 times 500. I can't remember that. 250,000, 25, what is it? Yeah, there you go. I haven't done maths since I was a teenager. And I'm not true. But, so I know that I need to sell 5,000 because the factory who makes this, which will likely be a Southeast Asian factory, Foxconn makes this currently. The company like Foxconn will need me to order 5,000 in order for me to sell it. So I say, please give me $250,000, and these are the packages in which you can buy. You can buy an iPad that has 32 gig memory, or 64 gig memory, or one that has a cool spoolie case. And we'll send an extra spoolie with if you buy it. So figuring out what that story is, what the minimum amount of money is that you have to build or get in to build a product, that is what you figure out before you go into Kickstarter. And then the transaction is, you promise that you're going to do an iPad, I'm going to give you $500 a day. Which I trust you. And it's a tricky situation because sometimes people don't get the products. And they get extremely irate. There's a book about happy customers will tell their friends, angry customers will tell 1,000 people. And it's true. So you always have to make sure that you treat these people with that support. If all you want are donations, then there are other platforms for that. This is definitely not a donation platform.
And then what's the difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo?
The difference between the two?
Yeah, I've never been on it.
No, so Indiegogo used to be smaller, but they grew 1,000% last year. Indiegogo also is becoming, I want to say, they surpassing Kickstarter in terms of being a physical product platform. Indiegogo has very few, if any, restrictions. And Indiegogo also allows you to decide and tell your audience that you have an explicit sum, $250,000 that you want to raise, or you'll take as many transactions as you can get. Say I only raise $100,000 on the iPad that I'm selling, but what that would mean is that you would have to come up with the other $150,000 for that minimum investment yourself. Indiegogo will charge you a higher percentage fee from their side if you have an open funding campaign. Have a look at the platforms. You can say sign up, just track a couple of products that you like. You don't have, both of them allow you to donate $1 just to keep in touch with what these products are doing. You don't have to actually buy the product. That's a donation. But I think the donations are limited to $1. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Cool.